everybody. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm so excited that we got to do this together. How fun. And it looks like we already have some questions.
Yes, and people hopping on.
How is everybody doing tonight? Where are y'all watching from? That is always a fun question.
Yes. So I am from Virginia, and here it is finally not humid. So I'm like embracing all the light hold gels right now and experimenting more. I'm like, yes, finally. It's really nice outside right now.
And I'm here in Texas, and it's finally not 104 degrees outside. So I can go outside and like breathe.
Now, are you somebody who is like jumping into fall right now, or are you like trying to hold on to summer? Because I'm seeing both with everyone online.
I am just sitting outside and enjoying being able to be outside and my skin not hurt because it is so dang hot.
Right.
When did I become sensitive to the heat? I think that means I must be getting older, but I don't want to admit that either.
Oh, I'm the same way. I see from Michigan. Yeah.
Well, I'll go ahead and introduce myself since we are going live on both your channel and my channel. I'll introduce myself. My name is Courtney, and I started caring for my waves and curls in 2018. That is when I jumped off the deep end, went down the rabbit hole of wavy curly hair because a coworker of mine came into work with perfect ringlets. And I was like, how'd you do that? Did you do that with a curling iron? And she was so sweet and laughed at me and told me this thing about the Curly Girl method and Lorraine Massey and Diva Curl. So like I started learning all this stuff and things. And now I'm not necessarily doing the Curly Girl method, but I have become deeply fascinated with caring for waves and curls.
Awesome. Well, I can go as well. So my name is Gena. I have curly hair that I've worn kind of curly and straight up until about 2018 for me as well, 2017 around there. I used to straighten it all the time and I would go back and forth, and I never really liked how it looked curly because I was still straightening and coloring and bleaching and highlighting my hair. And I also discovered Diva Curl. They kind of got me into the whole naturally curly world because I went on a trip with them and like discovered the entire natural hair community because I met a bunch of other girls that solely do hair content, and I was doing beauty content at the time. So I was there as mainly a makeup beauty influencer, but I had done a few hair videos with a few other products and ended up kind of discovering the whole natural hair world on the internet that I didn't even know existed because I was in the makeup world. And I was also, still straightening and making videos about straightening your hair. So I have some old ones on my channel for that, even though I don't do any heat styling now because I just like it so much better curly. I feel like it just looks better on me since it's my natural hair. So that was in about 2017 or 2018, and I just haven't looked back and now experiment with all types of products. I don't strictly follow the Curly Girl method anymore either because I've learned so much about the pros and cons of it. And yeah.
Okay. I still cling to one original Curly Girl method rule, and it's just like a soft clinging to the rule. It's the silicones. I still haven't been able to find products that contain silicones, even though now most of them are more water soluble. They don't build up as much. I still don't reach for the silicones, but give me the sulfates, give me the drying alcohols. I will try it.
Yes. Yep. I've been experimenting with them some more lately. I recently featured a whole line on my channel that had silicones in it, and I had great results from it. Super shiny. I was like, wow, my brittle areas actually feel really good and more manageable. Ooh. But I still have to like caveat that to everyone of like, you have to make sure that you're not just using that same exact line back to back forever. You could potentially get buildup. So rotating.
What line was it?
The Texture ID low porosity line.
So yes, I've looked at them for a long time. I never did grab them. Okay.
Yeah, so they have silicones. I didn't get any buildup from it or anything though, but my hair was very soft, and that was kind of the point of the line, to like soften brittle, dry hair, and so they were great at that. So people who have brittle hair, I do see that as one of the questions: who can benefit from silicones? People with brittle hair, people with very tingly hair, damaged hair. I see their purpose now to use them more strategically, I guess. So.
And I do think 100% formulations have improved over the past few years. Like I used to, before learning about waves and curls, I was a big silicone user, but my hair was so tangly, I couldn't brush it unless it was loaded with silicones. And it's because I wasn't properly conditioning it. I was only relying on the silicones to put a Band-Aid on my problem.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. They really do soften and help tangled hair. I think there's a balance to it though. Like you can't
Yeah.
just solely rely on those.
It can hide damage, which is a good thing, but that doesn't mean you neglect recovering the damage. Like I could see where that could be a problem for beginners of like, you don't even realize that your hair is damaged because you've got the silicone buildup. So
that was me.
So now that my hair's gotten healthy, I want to incorporate them a little bit more and figure out how to strategically use them, mainly for humidity. For me, I'm like, I will do anything I possibly can to get longer lasting results in humidity. So
I love that. Well, we did get a question from somebody who wasn't going to be able to catch the live, but she did have a question. She lives in the UK. I don't want to say her name incorrectly. Gena, are you better at saying names? Because I am horrible at it.
Not really. I'm guessing Yvette Holman. That's my guess.
That's what I would say. Yvette Holman asked what to do for the frizz that she's experiencing, and she shared a photo. I don't see where she explicitly said we could share the photo on the live, so I'm not going to do that. But after taking a look at the picture that you sent, Yvette, both Gena and I were talking about this before we went live, and we think that you may be needing more hold. And since you're in the UK and you have access to Curlsmith, I would say adding a thin to medium layer of the Curlsmith Flawless Finish Hard Hold hairspray to your hair, like maybe right after you plop and right before you diffuse, and see how that goes. See if that gives you enough hold to hold all of those short halo frizz pieces in their curl families while your hair dries. Also, my favorite thing to say all the time is make sure you're clarifying and deep conditioning regularly. So if you have skipped that, I get really bad halo frizz when I'm about due to clarify and deep condition. So, any other thoughts, Gena?
I actually just had a reel go up this week all about halo frizz, and I specifically mentioned how it helps to take your product all the way to the root. I know you've been talking about this recently too, because so many of us were taught just from the ear down or on the shaft, you know, the main links of the hair, but the root hair can't be naked either, especially if you have frizzy hair like me and lots of short hairs all over. They need product on them too. So avoid the scalp, but get it all the way to the root, if that makes sense. So,
and now we've got a few questions in the chat, and I'll go ahead and throw one up on the screen. Thank you so much, Patty, for putting the giant red question mark emoji. It's so helpful. We can really see the questions and like not accidentally skip it when we're skimming through the chat hunting for questions. So she says, I ordered an Exava diffuser last month on Amazon. It's tiny and returned it since it was obviously a fake. Yeah, the real Exava is gargantuan. Do you still use your Black Orchid diffuser, and how can I get the real product? Amazon's tricky. I haven't had too much bad luck with getting like fakes, but I know it happens. I don't personally still use the Exava. I was using it a lot like 3 years ago. But when I started hover diffusing, I found that I didn't need the giant bowl anymore. Like the Exava was great because you could pixie diffuse and it basically dried the roots and your mid links to ends all at the same time. But now I kind of hover diffuse first. I cut my curls with my microfiber towel, hover till that cast is mostly set, and then I'll just finish off and pixie diffuse the ends. So I find that the diffuser is not as important as it once was. Did you ever get into using the Exava, Gena?
I did not. I'm aware of which one it is, though, and it does look to be a good diffuser. But to help her with how to get the real product, one thing you can do on Amazon is check to make sure that check the seller where it'll say ships and sold by. You want that to either say Amazon or the name of that particular seller or brand, and you can check to see if that product is on their storefront. So a lot of higher end brands even now have storefronts on Amazon, mainly to prevent people from selling fakes. So that way they can have their presence on Amazon. But always check the store that's linked above the product, and then also who's shipping it, because it'll ship from lots of different places sometimes, but be under the same listing. So I always look at that before I add it to cart.
I love that. That is super helpful. All right. Michelle says, what is the best way to discover your curl type? I'm guessing I'm 3A, but I'm not really sure. Gena, will you take it away?
Yes, I would say don't stress about it. Don't worry about it. The only thing that curl type really comes into play with is maybe styling techniques, maybe how much water that you use. For example, Courtney loves styling soaking wet for her waves, whereas I like more damp for my curls. So it doesn't matter that much. I would focus more on figuring out your hair's texture and your hair's porosity. So texture would be the strand width because that would determine how heavy or how light your products are. And then your porosity is going to help you determine if you need some strengthening ingredients or if you need some sealing ingredients for things like humidity if you have high porosity hair.
That I 100% agree with. Curl type for me was actually a stumbling block really to figuring out what worked best for my hair versus being a tool or an aid that helped me better learn what to do with my hair. It became like this benchmark of like, how tight can I get my curls? I will win once I have 3B curls. That was the goal. And that's not how it works. Your curl pattern is your curl pattern and you can't make it tighter or looser. I don't think that's what's going on with you, Michelle. I think you're genuinely trying to figure out your products and your hair. I fell into the trap of like trying to get my curls tighter instead of liking the hair that I had. So that was my biggest issue. Also, texture, porosity, hair density are the benchmarks for helping pick really good products for your hair.
Yes. And we all have lots of videos on how to determine what those are. Unfortunately, you just kind of have to do trial and error sometimes to figure those out and look for signs.
Okay. Who can benefit from silicones? Carla, we mentioned that earlier. I just saw a question mark, so I threw it up before I read it. Oops. Okay. Let's see. Ooh, there's a red question mark. That is helpful. Hey, Marie. I'm from Florida. Courtney, any recommendations on how to get product-free hair that looks good? I tried all of your suggestions and came out with a poofy, frizzy mess. Hold on, it got cut off. Even with leave-in. Okay. So some people can't go product-free.
I cannot. It's not even an option. I'm jealous that you can.
I am so spoiled. I have a curl pattern that is so loose that I have to really encourage it, and it just droops and droops and droops. Also, my hair is fine, but it's very dense and it's heavy. Like, I have fine strands. They all get out of their curl families and like tickle my face all day. It's very tickly, but it's heavy. And so it elongates and wants to stretch out. If you are really working to air dry product free or go product free because you need a styling break. I'm a big advocate for styling breaks because sometimes curly hair will just drive you nuts and you need a break. Using maybe a heavier cream when you go product free will help that frizz to lay down while it's drying, whether you are hover diffusing product free hair or just air drying. Continually just gently running your fingers through it to reset those hydrogen bonds in a smooth way does help the hair air dry smoother and less frizzy. Also, this is a cheat code. I'm giving you a cheat code, Marie. When your hair is 100% dry and it's product free and it's poofy and there's wonkiness and the odd bend and kink in it, put it up in a bun on your head for a few hours. It will help smooth it out. When you take it down out of that bun, you'll have this big, softer, smoother look. It's not going to be 100% perfect. We're not shooting for the perfect blowout. We're just shooting for skating by, acceptable. Those are my thoughts on that. Gena, do you have any other thoughts for maybe how to air dry product free hair that's like wants to frizz more?
Heatless curls, which it sounds like you kind of are doing with putting your hair in a bun that's shaping it. Because, when your hair is wet, however it is when it's drying is how it's going to stay. If I did a bun or heatless, it would not work. It would be just fuzzy. Since my curl pattern doesn't really dry.
My curl pattern's a lot tighter and it's tight all the way to the root.
So I can't really, if I go product free, it's just very fluffy and fuzzy and doesn't hold definition. Like it ends up just very poofy and not defined at all, but it will never be smooth. Like I can't get like a smooth straight look with it. Even with heatless curls, it just wouldn't work. It needs heat to really straighten it out.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Bella says, looking for a stronghold gel for my coarse wavy hair. I'm torn between two gels, and I've heard from both your videos for the Briogeo Curl Charisma Gel or the InnerSense I Create Hold Gel, which is better? Well, that depends on you and your hair and your final end goal result and like what you like to feel in your hair.
Yeah.
Gena, what is the difference between those two gels in your opinion? Like how do they feel in your hair?
Yeah, this should be interesting because it's funny how products work differently for different people. So the Briogeo gel for me gives me no hold. Like I look like I don't have any product in. I don't even get a cast. And I know you love that gel. It's so funny how that works.
When did you try it?
I probably have an older bottle. Has it changed? Because I probably have an old bottle.
I don't know if they've changed the formula, but I tried it back in like 2019 and hated it. It had no hold. It did nothing. I was like, this is dumb. It flash dried in my hair. Yeah. I was like, this is
that's probably how old my bottle is. I tried it recently too, and I'm like, no, I can't.
I think I picked it up again in the early 2023 and tried it on a whim because my hair really needed protein, and that appears to be really protein heavy. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. And it casted and I had great curl enhancement and the curls lasted for days. I was like, are these two different products or do I just know what I'm doing now? I don't know.
Yeah, you just have to try stuff different times. Like if you try something that doesn't work, you might have to try it again a completely different way or just try it on another day. But that gel for me didn't give me any hold. It looks like a formula I would love and a consistency I would love. That's why it's confusing. But then for InnerSense I Create Hold, that one for me gives me more hold, but it doesn't give me enough for it to be like a go-to stronghold gel for me, mainly because it doesn't have humidity blockers in it. It's more of just like a natural gel. So I would reach for that more in the fall and the winter. And it's not the most long lasting hold, but I still get a great hold with it. But if her hair is coarse, I think I Create Hold might be better because of the texture of it. It has that gritty texture, whereas the Briogeo one is more slippery. So she might get more hold out of it with having that wavy textured hair.
Just on the principle of it being coarser hair, and in theory, coarser hair doesn't necessarily require as much protein as fine hair. I would agree that the InnerSense I Create Hold, if I'm looking at those two options for somebody with coarser hair, I would lean towards that because I believe the InnerSense one is protein free. Yes. I'm not 100% on that because I haven't looked at that ingredient label in a while. I don't reach for the I Create Hold as often anymore because I'm finding that I get more hold out of the Briogeo and not as much hold out of the InnerSense, but that's wild. Yeah, I did want to say both of those, I believe, offer sample sizes. So like small travel sizes. I know InnerSense does. I don't remember if Briogeo offers a travel size of the gel. They might. Anyway, I know that Ulta that sells Briogeo has a great return policy. So if you try it and don't love it, you can return it. And InnerSense, I'm really pretty sure that they offer the small travel sizes so you can try it without committing to the full size.
Awesome.
How do you tell the difference between brittle hair and fine hair?
I have brittle hair, so I can speak to that part. So for me, in my coarse areas, they feel very brittle and wiry. Like if I pick up a strand of hair and I feel it between my fingertips, you can definitely feel it there. It feels kind of bumpy when you run your hands down it, and it doesn't feel very smooth. Whereas with fine hair, you might not even be able to feel a strand of hair, like a single strand of hair between your fingertips, or it might be kind of hard to feel. Whereas mine feels almost wiry on those coarse areas. So with some softening ingredients, lots of moisture really helps for my.
What are examples of softening ingredients?
So conditioning ingredients. So any type of leave-in curl cream or gel that has some moisture in it. So cetyl alcohol could be one of them. That one comes to mind because it's in like everything.
Yeah.
any type of film forming ingredients, really going to help brittle hair, film forming humectants. So
I have had fine hair that has been both like healthy and supple and soft and flexible, and fine hair that has been brittle and very damaged and crispy. You can have coarse hair that is brittle, you can have fine hair that is brittle. It's the texture and feeling of it. Like if you touch it and the hair doesn't want to bend, it doesn't want to be flexible, you feel like if you bend it too far, it might snap. You're dealing with some really brittle hair that definitely needs lots and lots and lots of conditioning.
And oils. Oils is another one.
Mm-hmm.
Type of conditioning or oil. It just needs more of that flexibility from oils.
Yes. Deep conditioning with heat can be helpful. Let's see. Okay. How often do you switch out your products, shampoos, and conditioners? This is not a nice question to ask people who test out products all the time.
So I'm pretty much always changing them up. I do kind of rotate, like within a month or two, I'm rotating between the same ones that I'm trying to test. I don't know if you do that as well. The tracker document that I came up with has helped me actually keep track of this, because I would try something and then move on and then forget what I even thought about it. So I'm trying to take notes and log what I'm using. But I'm not using one specific line forever, back to back. I'm rotating around stuff. I know some people do like to just use one line, especially if you don't review products like we do for a living. You get to just use one line. I don't think you necessarily have to switch it up, as long as you are rotating your shampoos and clarifying and deep conditioning, not just using like a co-wash every single time, for example.
I agree. I think I personally have noticed that I don't get great results when I use the same product line back to back to back. And I'm talking like even within a week. If I use the same shampoo, conditioner, stylers 3 times in a row of wash days, like 1 week, 3 separate wash days, it's not good. I have to rotate very often because I have incredibly low porosity hair that is very easily prone to build up. Mm-hmm. So when I use higher end products that are more expensive, I can actually use those products back to back to back with less issue. Inner Sense is one of those brands. Luss is one of those brands. Let me see. Briogeo is another brand that I've been able to use back to back to back to back. Curlsmith back to back. But that's almost not fair because I kind of rotate within the line, Yeah. But if I'm using drugstore products, I have to rotate constantly.
Yeah, I can't notice that.
The same set. I've tried because it would be fantastic, but I just get better results when I rotate more often. But I think that I'm on the extreme end of the scale when it comes to build up issues. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think maybe a more realistic way for people to rotate would be maybe to have a strong hold gel on hand and a lighter hold gel, or maybe have some summer versus some winter products. That way you have like your core products, but you can still rotate around depending on the weather and just have 1 or 2 that you go between. Since obviously people can't have as many as we do to test and try out, unless if you're product junkies and you like to do that like I do. I find it fun. But rotating between lines would be good.
I think so. I agree with that. Are expensive diffusers worth it? Curlsmith has an ion one, I believe.
I think so, but I don't want to say like you have to have the expensive dryer, only because it's the only dryer that I've found that I can dry my hair fast without heat damage and like just be able to cover a whole area at once because of the large size. And I don't have to use super high heat. So yeah. I find it worth it in that case because it's super large. It covers a whole area. I can diffuse my hair in anywhere from like 10 to 15 minutes. Now it's also higher porosity and low density, so that contributes to the dry time, but I find it worth it because it's not too hot. And I diffuse on hot too, like the highest setting is not too hot for curls.
Yeah, Curlsmith specifically limited the heat capacity on that dryer so that it could not get too hot to damage curls. Like, I think that is so cool.
Yes.
Here's how I justify it. One, both Gena and I have coupon codes for you for Curlsmith. Two, Curlsmith, a hair dryer. The hair dryer is a one-time purchase, and it's a non-consumable product in the sense that you're going to buy it once and use it a bajillion times. So the cost per use of the product that you're purchasing is going down, especially the longer you keep it. You invest in a higher quality dryer, it's going to last you years and not months. I have purchased hair dryers from the Wally Worlds with diffusers, like the cheapest possible hair dryer from Walmart that has a diffuser. You want to know how long that thing lasted me? 6 months before it blew up and was dead. So my Curlsmith hair dryer, I've had for 4 years at this point. That diffuser is ginormous. It really does make diffusing your hair easier. It does dry great and quickly. I understand if right now in the budget, there is not that leeway, that flexibility. I'm a cheapskate at heart. I love buying the cheap thing, but I have found that my money serves me better when I go ahead and invest in a slightly higher quality product that's going to last me more uses. That's how I justify it. I'm not saying you have to, but is it worth it? I would say for me, yeah. And that's how I justify it in my cheapskate brain.
There is a $35 hair dryer that I recommend for beginners. It's the Conair one. It's in my Amazon, and I'm sure with the replay, we can link products in the description box below. But that one I recommend for beginners. I used it for years, but when I started using the Curlsmith one and then went back to use that one, I realized it wasn't drying my hair as quickly. And I also noticed the diffuser didn't have holes in the prongs, whereas I never noticed it before because I hadn't used a nice hair dryer. So It's a good option for beginners. Like if you're just getting started and you want to see if diffusing even works for you, because it actually does have a good diffuser design and it doesn't get too hot, but it just has a few missing features that I like now with the Curlsmith dryer.
And since we're talking about the Curlsmith hair dryer, I do want to say it's not the heaviest hair dryer I've ever used, but it's not the lightest weight. The lightest weight hair dryer I've ever used is the Leifin, but it's unique in the sense that it is like really lightweight. Curlsmith hair dryer, not terribly heavy. I have rheumatoid arthritis and sometimes my shoulders blow up and I can't lift my arm. The Curlsmith hair dryer is still usable to me, even when I'm suffering.
Yeah, I agree.
What is your favorite shampoo and conditioner you would recommend for low porosity curls?
I'll let you answer that one with low porosity hair.
Goodness, I switch it up a lot. I find that with my lower porosity hair, what I'm actually looking for on an ingredients label is not a lot of butters or oils in the shampoo itself. I'm not as mad if they're in my conditioner, but in the shampoo, the magic ingredient that really helps my low porosity curls is that sodium C14, C16 olefin sulfonate. It's a slightly stronger surfactant that is not technically a sulfate. So a lot of companies are using it because it is really effective at removing buildup, but it doesn't, it's too much for some hair types like that. It can be kind of strong, but that's the ingredient that I'm looking for. Some of the shampoos that I can think of off the top of my head that contain that are Mop Top, Gentle shampoo, the V & Co Wavy shampoo has it. And of course, those are going to be the only two shampoos that I can think of at the moment. Can you think of any?
That low porosity line I just reviewed from Texture ID, that shampoo has that C14 olefin sulfonate and it has chelating ingredients. So you won't get hard water buildup with that.
Dang it, you're going to make me run out and buy those, aren't you?
The conditioner does have silicone, so it will cause like a very soft conditioning feel. So if you don't want that, then just go with the shampoo. I don't think the shampoo did from what I remember, but it's very cleansing, but it was not stripping at all. It felt great. It worked for my higher porosity curls. So
guys, y'all have asked a ton of amazing questions. I don't think we're going to be able to get to them all, but we'll try and answer just a couple more before we have to go.
I saw one about styling that I wanted to get to too. Styling front pieces. We can answer after this one.
Perfect. I'll let you throw it up. I've seen Courtney use the bounce curl brush, but do not see it in your recent videos. Do you still use it? Yes, I still use it. There's a very specific reason for why it's not included in certain sponsored videos. I'll let the audience infer from that why it's not appearing in certain videos. But I still use the bounce curl brush a lot. In fact, I used it today, and I used the new volume one because I wanted to test out side by side the differences between the volume and the define. Gina, have you played around with that brush?
Yes, I did a comparison actually. So if you're torn between the volume and the define one, check that out. I did like a side-by-side comparison. I like both of them, but the volume one worked a lot better for my low density hair because I was finding I was having to separate curl clumps because I don't want a bunch of curl clumps. I want like tiny curl clumps because my natural curl pattern's pretty like more narrow, like the clumps are more narrow, the curl family. So that one worked a lot better.
I could see that. I haven't looked at, I just finished filming that video and I didn't realize you had already done one. I'm sorry. I'm going to
wait to see it. It's good.
Side by side. That was unintentional.
Yeah, that's great.
But I haven't even looked at the footage yet, side by side of the differences. So I'm kind of excited to like see it side by side.
Yeah, that's great to see because people with waves will want to see your version. So the more, the better.
Perfect. You're so sweet.
I will throw up the other one. There was one about styling curls in the front around your face. And sorry if you hear my dachshund barking. If anyone has a dachshund, you know how it is. You can never keep them quiet. Hopefully the noise canceling is working for that. But for this one, I do a lot of styling around the front of my face because the curls never know which direction they want to go in. And if you do want to just style one area and you don't have time to do your whole head, I always recommend just doing the front. So I will usually take a brush, whether if it's the bounce curl brush or I like the Tingle Teaser, I use that one a lot, and like brush a large section at once and then finger coil to get them to go in the right direction. So that way I'm not finger coiling my whole head, but then at least I'm defining the curls that are in the front, which are actually the tightest curls that I have. So I try and define those, and then the rest, they're kind of doing their own thing. But at least the ones that I look at all day and are in my face, it'll keep it out of my face if I style those. So that helps me with finger coiling.
I love that. I have never been able to get good results finger coiling. And I think it's because, especially in the front, these pieces are just so loose. My tightest curls are actually in the back of my head, and I can't see back there to finger coil. My trick to styling the front pieces is I want to be able to flip my part from side to side. It needs to have that flexibility for me to survive, because otherwise, like, I can't live with my hair in my face, and flipping it back and forth seems to keep it out of my face more. I style upside down, and I really take the brush and I run it and push it on my scalp, and it creates a bunch of parts so that I can choose my part and flip it from side to side while hanging completely upside down. And that bounce curl brush really does help define and separate all of the curl clumps in the front so that it's going where it's supposed to. That feels like a terrible answer. I'm not showing it and demoing it, so it feels really hard to describe, but
that made total sense. I've seen you do that. It does help to brush it forward, because at least you're brushing it up out of your face, because I can't stand when it's in my face. Normally I have it pinned back, but
I feel that. All right, let's do one more question and then we will be done for the evening. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it. Let's see.
So many good ones. I just want to answer everybody's. We'd be here all
I
night.
do too. I wish we had unlimited time, but we also want to be respectful of your guys' time. Okay. Do you see any that are jumping out at you, Gina?
There was a lot of diffuser questions, I guess, when we were chatting about that, but we covered that. How about the bonnet one? We can throw this one up. So Marie asked, I can't get wraps or bonnets to work. I use a satin pillowcase and keep my curls from staying against my neck when I turn. So I sleep in a bonnet because I like to have my curls up off my neck. I don't like to have them like hanging down on my neck. And I find that that helps keep them in place but it has to be the right fitting bonnet, which is really challenging. I always say finding a right fitting bonnet, it's like finding the right fitting bra. It's
Yes.
really difficult. And I wish there was more sizing. If I could create a bonnet, that would be the first thing I would definitely make, because I have lots of ideas for them, because I feel like no brands are doing it right. They're always too big. And if your hair is flopping down in it, then it's not big enough. I mean, it's not tight enough.
Oh, okay. Have you tried the bounce curl bonnet?
I have. It was too big for me and too much material.
Okay. Yeah. Like there was too much room, but it was adjustable, which that's been the only bonnet I've ever worn that stayed on my head and didn't give me a headache. Like I was able to get that one to work for me. But yeah, you're right. Like it was very roomy. So I felt like my hair was like flopping around in it and kind of squashed and wonky. I actually get better results when I use a silk scrunchie. I really like the Curl Friend Collective silk scrunchies. They're so high quality. I've bought the Walmart scrunchies. No, like that is another place I invest my money. I know it's a very expensive silk scrunchie, but like, it's so good. Silk scrunchie, loose bonnet on top of my head, 2 wraps, keeps the hair off of my neck, sleeping on a satin pillowcase. Does my hair stretch out? Yes, but like I'm actually sleeping because I'm not worried about the bonnet or the wrap falling off. I'm not constantly thinking about it as I rotate. And if I sleep with my hair down, but like draped over the pillow, I'm also thinking about my hair and worrying about it in the middle of the night while I'm asleep, because like I don't want to squash it. When I throw it up in that bun on top of my head, I can forget about it. And it's something I'm going to do consistently too. Like it's so quick, so easy. Throw it up, lay my head down. I'm not trying to tie the perfect wrap or anything. Could I make the curls better if I tried harder with my sleep protection? Yes, but you're balancing the things here, you know, how much effort do you want to put in?
Yeah, I'd say just make sure it's the right fitting one. If she hasn't been able to get it to work, maybe it's just too big. Most of them are too big, so.
Probably. All right, guys, thank you so much for
tuning out.
This was so much fun. If y'all want us to do this again sometime, please let us know. This was an absolute blast.
Yes, maybe we'll do it monthly or something.
I love that idea. All right. Well, y'all have a great rest of your evening, and we will see you in the future.
Thanks all.